NIL has changed college, but it's also changed NFL. How has it changed now the evaluation where before it was, I wonder how money will change a kid, and now a lot of them have it?
Yeah, they come in almost like pros now. So it's not really a question we got to worry about anymore. We know what they're about and what they'll do with money, and it's good for them.
With all the trade talks around Maxx Crosby, do you anticipate him being in a Raider uniform when the season starts?
I do, yes.
Hey John, what does a franchise quarterback look like to you?
Well, a leader, tough as hell, somebody that loves to play football, maniacal preparer, obviously somebody that can throw the ball well, but I think just somebody that loves the game and will give everything to their teammate. You know, a selfless person, somebody that's going to give their team everything that they got every time that they're out there, prepare the right way, lead the right way. I think there's a great humility and selflessness required to play that position at a high level.
That first question a little bit, but the draft has gotten older the last couple of years, obviously with NIL and the 6 year and all that. How do you sort of evaluate age now? How important, is it, or how much does it detract from a player's upside?
I wouldn't say it detracts a ton. Our analytics department gets mad at me anytime we put a guy up there that's a little bit older, that's in his 6th year and whatever. But we're just looking for good football players, and there's a million things that we evaluate as part of the process, and it's a little bit of a unique spot in college right now with some of the guys coming off that COVID year and getting extra years and 6 years and 7 years you see now too. So we're just looking for good football players at the end of the day.
How does your approach change this year as opposed to last year when you were a first-year GM, and now you're second year, second head coach, and more money in the first overall pick?
There's a lot there. I try to be the same guy every day. I got a great group of people around me in the scouting department. So as we approach free agency, I feel like we're as a group, guys that were here when I got here, guys that have come in, we're all speaking the same language now. We've got a great process in place. And to me, it's always been about the people that you surround yourself with. And so I feel great about the group that we have supporting the organization right now from the personnel side.
Offensive line needs to be better. Will Jackson Powers-Johnson play center, or do you think he's going to stay at guard?
Whoever the best 5 are, they'll be out there. And, I love Jackson. Hard season, obviously, for a lot of different reasons. He's healthy now. And, we're going to talk to Clinton and Rick Dennison and the O-line group, and we'll figure out the best 5 to run with.
Do you have like a timeline in terms of figuring out what's the best path forward for Geno Smith and his future in Las Vegas?
Obviously, the contract predicates that a little bit. And so, Clinton and staff are just getting everything together, and we're going to spend some time here, and then when we get back to Vegas, kind of formulating a plan with everybody going forward.
John, what's the relationship been like now that you've been there for a year, working with Tom Brady?
For me, it's kind of the same as it's always been, other than we probably talk more about strategy and football and roster building and team building and all those different things. But, Tom and I have always had a great relationship, really since 2020 when he came to Tampa. And, the daily communication and just learning each other more and him learning in this space and me learning him a little bit more, like the things that are important to him and emphasizing those.
Are you confident that Max will remain in Las Vegas?
I am. Max is an elite player, and I've been very upfront from the start when I got here that, we're in the business of having really good players on the team, and we need a lot more of them. And it's hard to build a great team without elite players.
What has been your communication like with Crosby over the last month or so?
Max and I have a great relationship. He's in the building every day, getting healthy right now. We talk on the phone, we text. So I have a great relationship with Max.
Some of the reports that came out during Super Bowl week, are you comfortable that you know where his head is on wanting to stay and that he wants to be a Raider?
Max and I have had great conversations. I'm comfortable there, yeah.
What do you think is the Raiders' top priority in free agency this offseason?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Offense, defense.
All of it. I mean, we won 3 games last year. We got to be super honest with where we're at, and we've got a lot of needs to address, and we've got a lot of capital to do it.
What are the important building blocks or foundational pieces to have when you are bringing in a young quarterback?
You say bring in a young quarterback?
A young quarterback.
I think you want to have as much pressure, or limit the amount of pressure you have on that guy from the start. Now, if you have a young quarterback, I'm not necessarily in favor of running him out there right away either. So, another quality player that can play the quarterback position, if you have a young quarterback, and obviously a great offensive line, a run game, all the things that can limit his chances to really get killed. And a great defense too, because if he doesn't feel like he's got to go out there and score 35 points every week, I think that's helpful.
Having a young quarterback, how much, if you do have a young quarterback, just having Tom in the building, how much of a role does he play in that development of a young guy?
I mean, he's the best ever to do it, and so I think whoever the quarterback is that's playing for the Raiders has a unique opportunity to learn from the best. And Tom's got a lot of humility to him, and just because he did it a certain way, he doesn't have expectations that you do it all that way too. But there are some things that he's uncompromising on, and I think it's whoever the quarterback is for the Raiders. I think Tom is a great resource for them.
What went into the decision to promote Rob Leonard as defensive coordinator?
That'd be a great question for Clint, but from my point of view, he's a great young coach, and Pete interviewed him to be a defensive coordinator last year. I sat in on that interview; it was really impressive. My comments or my communication to Clint on it was like, "Hey, we got a great D-line coach in the building. I think you should interview him as a DC, and then you make your decision." And so we did, and Clint did.
What was your early assessment on last year's draft class? Did you think that you saw enough of them to be able to give somewhat of a grade on?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I saw him every day in practice. I saw him get better. It was good to see a lot of them play more at the end of the year and have success. I mean, Tonka had a bunch of sacks the last few games. JJ had a chance to play. Charles Grant got 2.5 quarters. So I'm comfortable with where those guys are at. They're about the right things. They're football guys first. They're in the building training every day. I don't think Caleb Rogers has missed a day since the season ended right now. So I'm happy with those guys. They're on the right path.
What intangibles do you
Intangibles that we look for? Humility, a great passion to play the game of football. It's such a hard game. Your competitive spirit has to run really high. You've got to be willing to play through a bunch of tough circumstances. And to me, it always goes back to the love of the game. The guys that truly love the game of football, they love to practice, they love to prepare, they love to watch film, they love to do, play hurt. So I mean, those things are. I'm kind of uncompromising on those things.
A lot of good wide receivers in Tampa during your time there. Did you see enough of it? Trust him outside wide receiver?
As a number one outside receiver? I trust Jack Besh, the football player. Where he aligns, we're going to move people all over the place. I think you guys saw how Clint used, JSN. They're going to move them all over the place. So we're not going to be an offense where we just stick a guy and he's the number one guy on the outside. I also don't think there's many of those guys walking around on the face of the earth like you're talking about, the true X's. So if you're lucky enough to get one of them, you hold on to them for dear life, and if you don't, then you make it work with what you got.
About evaluating that passion, that hunger for the game, has NIL's made it challenging at all with some of these guys are financially set already? How do you evaluate their hunger?
I don't actually think I think it's made it easier because you know what the guys are going to do when they have money. The ones that love the game and are about the right things, and just because they've got more money than we all had when we were in college, they still prepare the right way, they play the right way, they love the game, they're there for their teammates. I think it's kind of been illuminating to the character of who they are.
After seeing Clint have success with Seattle and obviously winning a Super Bowl, how do you guys balance wanting to replicate the success he had on the offense there and wanting to build around the core that you already have here?
Well, I think our job in the personnel department is to give Clint as many good players as we can, and that fit his vision and his scheme. But I think one of the things we really liked about Clint was, he's got a system that highlights what the players can do. He talked a lot about that in the interviews, and so our job is to use that and go forward with that, and just get him quality people and football players that can bring his offense to life.
Do you use mock draft simulators in your process?
We are building out a lot of stuff kind of in that space. We have our own internal one that takes all of your guys' work into account and pumps it into a system, and then it tells us kind of what the predicted range was from that standpoint too. So yeah, we do use stuff like that.
What's the hardest part about evaluating quarterbacks, given the college landscape? What's the toughest part for you guys figuring out how to invest in guys?
If they can take a snap from under center right now, it's the hardest position to evaluate. So much is required of those guys, and trying to have a vision for how they played in whatever offense they were asked to run in college, and how they're going to fit into ours, and then how they're going to handle the pressure that comes with being one of 32 in the world is a lot. And so, there's a lot that goes into it. Every year we evaluate the quarterbacks from top to bottom, because you never know if you're going to get one, and you never know if they're going to come back in free agency too. And so it's a constant work in progress, and it's obviously super important.
Their comprehension of the game, given kind of how the game has changed so much at the college level, how much has that maybe changed when they get to the NFL? How much of football they actually know by the time they get to the league?
I think it's less about that and more about do you believe that they have the mental aptitude to really learn and process information fast. I wouldn't just say because they ran this offense in college that we're going to hold that against them or for them. I mean, I think every playbook in the NFL is probably quite a bit bigger than one college is. So to us, it's about how much can they process, how hard will they work, how much can they remember, and we've got things that we do to try to test that as best we can. Trade calls with Howie? Howie's great, and he's one of the best at what he does, and he finds value in places. So, and I mean this with respect to Howie. I always watch myself a little bit when he calls, because he's so good at what he does. But he's been great. He's been a great mentor to me. He's taught me a lot. I learned a lot from him in the year and a half that 2 years I was with him in Philly when he moved into the personnel department, and he's been a great resource for me as I've got this job.
That rookie class, some of the traits they had, they were all like pretty good, smart guys. Like it seemed like they had that in common. How important was that in the process, and how do you go about like putting that class together of those kind of people?
It's a testament to our scouts and the work that they do to build it the right way, to find the right kind of human first. And that's why I keep saying, like, you guys that are in Vegas with us, like I believe in those guys. They're about the right things. That was really important to me for the first draft that I had a chance to run in Las Vegas, that we find the right kind of people, because we're playing the long game here, and I'm betting on the growth that those guys will have because they're about the right things.
Value of the position. Why wouldn't a quarterback needy team draft a quarterback in the first round, if not every year, as often as they possibly can?
Why wouldn't you draft a quarterback in the first round no matter what?
Just that you need one.
Well, that's where like need and best player available come into kind of the equation. I learned a long time ago, if you start forcing needs, you're going to end up picking guys too early and then regret it. So, when it lines up and you've got a need and it's the best guy, it's awesome. It really is. That's how we got Tristan Wirfs in Tampa all those years ago. We needed a tackle, and he was the best one, and run the card in as fast as you can. But we're never just going to say we got this need and so we're just going to force a player. It's the wrong way to do it. It's not team building.
In this process, when you sit down with a quarterback for an interview, what are you looking for in that conversation, and what kind of dialogue do you have?
We're looking for leadership traits. Can he be a connector? Is he smart? Is he endearing? Does he have humility? I mean, all the things that we've talked about. We're going to get 18 minutes to spend with these guys this week, in those formal interviews, and we'll just it's a first dip your toe in the water, get to know these guys.
You hold the first pick in the draft, teams are bound to come calling. Do you guys feel like the need to answer those calls and listen to offers right now?
I learned a long time ago, always listen. I'm always listening.
When you do have a lot of younger players coming in, how important is it to balance that out with great veteran leadership and guys who've been around the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's very important. If you can find the right guys that play that position, and you can put those strategically into different position rooms. And so, not that those guys need to mentor those guys, but just if they can watch a true pro prepare, how they go about their routine throughout the week, how they take care of their bodies, how they prepare in the off season, I think it's really valuable. And the onus isn't on the vet. It's just to mentor those guys. It's just on to do the right thing. And I've been around guys in Tampa for years that did it the right way, and that's why some of our young players were able to play so fast and so well, because they were around the right guys. They saw the right way to do things, and when they got a chance to get on the field, they were ready.
You have so much flexibility in terms of cap space, but also the draft picks. When you're trying to approach this offseason, is there spots that you want to address first, or is it like we do one step at a time, or we know we can get this in the draft, so maybe not address it in free agency? I guess how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's kind of the chess match of it all, like the team building part of it. So we're working through that right now, and we'll figure that out. But I mean, you can pass in free agency thinking you're going to get one in the draft, and then leave a massive hole on your roster too. So we'll come up with a strategy and attack it the best we can.
Max wants to play for a contender. Do you see the Raiders contending this season?
I think we're going to build this team the right way, and this league is littered with examples of teams that went from a top 5 pick to the NFC Championship, the Super Bowl. We've seen it the last couple of years. I mean, the Patriots won 4 games last year, and they were in the big game the year before. The Commanders picked second, and we're in the NFC Championship game. So we're going to build it the right way, and we'll see what comes.
Is there anything here that can actually move your board?
Medical, for sure. If we have a bad experience with a player in an interview, I mean, that might make us think, but I don't know that we're going to change the board very much coming out of this. I take this for what it's worth. It's a big part of the process, but it's just a part of the process, and our really only goal is to get the board right, by late April.
It's possible that even at the quarterback position that a player can have like a personality makeup or a authenticity quotient or maturity level that may not jive with their physical traits that could become a concern, as far as how they may or may not meld with the locker room, especially with men who are potentially older in the ages of 20 or 30s and,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, I don't want to get too specific with the player name, but do you think it's possible that like the personality makeup at the quarterback position could be, concerning, or a point that you look at that may detract from the physical traits, no matter how good they are from a passer standpoint, that would detract you from picking them?
I think personality always matters at any position, and probably more so at the quarterback position, because that is what people think is the leader. I mean, that is what you really hope to get, is that person that drives the culture, drives the team, and all that. So, yeah, of course, I think personality does matter.
And even from a maturity standpoint,
Maturity? When I say personality, I think that I'm encompassing that in it too. I think that always matters, and it's a big time job, and it requires a high level of maturity and accountability for whoever, really at whatever level you're playing, but certainly in the NFL.
Saw Fernando in the national championship game up close. Have you had any experiences with Fernando up close and evaluating him like that?
I saw him a bunch of times this season, evaluating him. We're not allowed to talk to him, so that's as close as I've gotten standing on the sideline before games.
John, I know you said you're always listening when it comes to trade offers. Would you consider Maxx an untradeable player, or are we still entertaining?
Right, we're always listening, man. So, thanks, guys.